Just explain why you took the decision to quit.
Yeah, look, it's not an easy decision. It's a hard thing to walk away from your team, to walk away from the chance to have an impact on the country as a minister. But for me, I've spent the last few months on the doorstep speaking to hundreds and hundreds of constituents. And the message was really clear. They have lost confidence and trust in the Prime Minister, and they don't believe that he is able to deliver the scale and the change that is required for us to deliver on our mandate that we promised the country. And I come to the judgment that that is right, and that ultimately the Prime Minister does need to do the right thing for the country, and he needs to set a transition so that a new leader can take over and deliver the scale and pace of change that we need.
He's not getting that message, though. He's digging in. He's staying put.
Well, look, the Prime Minister's a good guy. He has always tried to do the best thing for the country. What I'm hoping is that he will reflect. And there are two fundamental questions. Can you command the confidence of the country? Because you need that if you're going to take the country with you to deliver the scale of change that we need. And are you capable of delivering the level of ambition? People are frustrated. They've had 15 years where things have not been going right and working for them. And they want a government that can step up. And the Prime Minister has to reflect, and ultimately it's his choice, it's his judgment on those two questions. And if the answer to those in his heart is no, I hope he will do the right thing. I hope he will put in place a proper process and a transition so that we can have a range of people who can set out their stall, set out their vision for the country, tell us how they will deliver on our mandate, on our manifesto in the most ambitious way forward, and then we rally around that person.
But you say it's his choice and his judgment. Actually, there is another way, obviously. Wes Streeting or someone like that who's seeing the PM tomorrow could stand up and say, right, I'm going to launch a leadership challenge. Shouldn't they have the decency to do that, people who are briefing privately?
Well, look, I don't do briefing privately. I speak
You're
my
doing
mind.
it publicly on the pink sofa.
This is why I'm here. But look, I can't speak for Wes Streeting. I can't speak for any of the potential runners and riders.
So you're not part of a coordinated plot?
No.
You're not teeing this up with Wes Streeting?
No.
A coup the left of the party suspects?
No, look, I don't think this is a coup. For me, this is a personal decision. It's a really hard thing for colleagues to go on the record and to say that they have lost confidence in the Prime Minister, that they don't think he can lead us forward. That is a very personal decision. I know each and every colleague will be grappling with what they heard on the doorstep, and those were some tough, brutal messages that we got, and trying to make a judgment about what is best for the country. And ultimately, it's not about a coordinated plot, it's about each of us making that decision. I can't speak for Wes, but what I will say is whatever we do, we need a proper process. We need to do that in a timely, proper way so that we can have a conversation about the best possible way to respond to the demand for change, the urgency for change that we are hearing loud and clear from all of our constituencies and our communities.
Have you spoken to Wes Streeting in the last few days?
No, I've not spoken to Wes. I've not spoken to anyone.
Ed Miliband?
I came to this decision myself. And look, ultimately, people make this about personalities. It's not. It's about the country.
But have you spoken to his aides, though? Because, just to knock this on the head, that it's not a plot.
This is not a plot.
Have you spoken to Wes Streeting's aides, though?
No, I've not.
So they had no idea you were coming out and doing this?
No. And if anyone knows anything about me, I'm probably seen to be on a different side of the party from Wes, and that is the key point.
Ed Miliband, though, did you let his aides know, give them a heads up?
I told my boss, Steve Reid, that I was doing this. I told the whips. I told Number 10 in advance. I had already said all of this to them privately. I didn't want to have to go public. I felt I needed to, and that's because ultimately, if you're part of the team, you've got to believe that the boss is the right boss to take you forward and take the country forward. And that is not my judgment. And I couldn't, in all good conscience, stay on the team.
What did Steve Reid say to you?
He said, look, stick it out. And I said to him, look, this is a question for me about conscience, my relationship with a constituency. I've heard a message loud and clear, and I think it's important to speak up. And obviously he disagrees.
Was he angry? I mean, because the party at the moment looks like, it's riven, isn't it, from top to bottom?
No, I don't think so. Look, I have a really good relationship with all my colleagues. We are not, the press like to do the personality politics, the drama. In the end, you've got a set of colleagues that were part of the same Labour family. We care about one thing. All of us came into politics to do one thing, which was do right by our constituents and our communities and deliver change. And ultimately, we will come together. Labour Party does not do leadership changes over and over again. We have one shot at this, which is why I think it is so important that we have a proper, orderly process where we have the range of talents, and that does include Andy Burnham, who is a fantastic politician, has a track record in Greater Manchester, probably our most popular politician. We need him in the field with everyone else. Set out your stall for how you deliver for the country, and we will rally behind the person that we think is the best person that can deliver the mandate that we have, and it's a mandate that the Labour Party have, that all of us that signed up to that manifesto have, the best person to deliver that.
So, do you expect an MP to stand aside to let Andy Burnham come back into the Commons ASAP?
Well, look, I can't speak for Andy Burnham. You'll have to ask him that question. But what I am very clear...
But a deal's being done behind the scenes, isn't it?
I don't know. But what I am very clear about is that any contest that we have has to be a proper conversation about how we take the country forward. And that does require us to have all of our talent, and that does require us to have Andy in.
So is he your favourite candidate?
I think we need to slow down. I think we need to slow down. I think we need to take this in time. My ask, the ask of many of my colleagues to the Prime Minister, is set in train a proper process. Do it calmly, do it slowly. None of us want the chaos. None of us want the...
Have you seen the guilt yields? I mean, they're responding. You're saying orderly transition, take your time. You haven't got time. You haven't got the luxury of time, have you?
Well, I think that's within the gift of the Prime Minister, because if he grips this, if he does this in an orderly way, if he says, you know, my personal view is that he needs to see us through the summer. We are in the middle of a war. We know that the war in Iran is going to have an impact on our communities over the summer. I want him to serve the country and lead us through that. Put in place a proper process, do it in a calm, orderly way, allow the best of our talent to set out their stall over that period and then transition properly.
So by digging in, is he actually making the markets more jittery, do you think?
It's within the gift of the Prime Minister to do this in a way that is orderly, to do this in a way that delivers a proper transition. The Labour Party, we do not do leadership changes. We do not do psychodrama. We have one shot at this.
You're doing quite well at that at the moment.
Well, you know, it's pretty tough. It is pretty tough. But we have one shot at this. We're not going to keep changing leaders like the Tories did. We'll do this once. We have to get that right. And it is not about us. It is not about the individuals. It is about who can step up to the challenge of responding to what our constituents want, which is change.
But is Andy Burnham your number one...
and scale of change.
Is Andy Burnham your number one candidate as we sit here now?
Well, look, if Andy Burnham was in Parliament, I'd be supporting him.
Right.
And ultimately, I think we need a process that allows, whether it's Andy, Wes, whoever else, to essentially say what they're going to do for the country.
And if Ed Miliband was to be a sort of caretaker leader until Andy Burnham got here, you'd back that?
No, look, it's not for me to say what the process looks like. I wish I could wave a magic wand and all of this could go away and we're in a settled state on the other side
You're
of it.
hating this, basically.
Yeah, all of us are. This is not what I came into politics for. This is not... It's a hard thing to say to your leader, we don't think you're the right person to take us forward. None of us do this lightly. This is not fun. We're not enjoying this. We are a team. We are one team. And for some of us to stand up and say, we think it is time for you to move on because you cannot lead us and lead the change that we want is not an easy thing, and it is not something that we do lightly.
Let me just bring in you, Mick, because I wonder what you think of what you just heard from Miatta now.
Well, I admire Miatta for coming out in the way she has. I knew her before she was elected, and I know that she's a good person. And it is a bad spot for the Labour Party at this time, but I think this change is inevitable. It's a matter of time and how, and there's a lot of options that all the news media have been going through today.
Would you back the Andy Burnham option, bring him back to Westminster as soon as possible?
Well, I think Andy Burnham is a better option, but none of this matters if there's not a programme. And what people are struggling with is what Labour is about. People don't understand Keir Starmer. They don't know what he is, they don't know what he believes in, they don't know what his principles are. They've forgotten what the manifesto was. He said it was one word, and the one word hasn't been delivered because they continued...
That word was change.
Yes, exactly. They've continued with the Tory fiscal policies, and you're going to get Tory outcomes.
Right, well...
And that's what people need, is a change. So whether it's Burnham, whether it's Streeting, whoever it is, needs to put forward a platform that's going to deliver change in the next 2.5 years before the next election.
Miatta, let me put that back to you. Tear up the fiscal rules, as you seem to be sort of hinting.
Well, look, I think two things. We will stand by, and any leader has to stand by the manifesto because that's the thing that gives us the mandate. That's the thing we were all elected on. I think the question for me is how do you deliver not just the spirit of the manifesto, but the substance and the most ambitious version of the substance. And ultimately, it will be for those that put themselves, if we have a contest, and I remind you, we're not in a contest yet, but if we have a proper contest, it's for each of the people that want to lead this country to set out what they are going to do. And that does require ambition, that does require an urgency to respond to the fact that people do not believe that the current settlement is working for them, and think about what that means in terms of the scale of change we can deliver.
Gillian, very quick one from you. You know, Miatta is obviously hating this whole psychodrama. She says the Labour Party isn't very good at toppling its leaders, which appears to be true. Your advice as someone, you know, you're from a party that does rather well at toppling its leaders.
Well, yes, although I didn't resign on Boris and I hadn't voted for the guy in the first place. And the reason I didn't was because you have to be really careful about where you're going. The whole reason they're in this mess is because there was not a plan in the first place. They need a plan now, and it really needs to be well thought through because you can't have your Liz Truss moment.
And that seems to be echoing what Miatta
Your
said.
Rishi.
Miatta, thank you very much for sharing that with us. And, you know, it is obviously a very painful time for you, so I appreciate you coming on.